The tariff war has escalated significantly, with the United States, led by President Donald Trump, imposing steep tariffs on its major trading partners, China, Canada, and Mexico, triggering retaliatory measures and sparking widespread concerns about a global trade war.
If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair.
The U.S. rolled out 25% tariffs on all goods from Canada and Mexico, effective just after midnight today, with Canadian energy products facing a slightly lower 10% rate. Additionally, tariffs on Chinese imports were doubled from 10% to 20%, layered on top of existing duties. Trump justified these moves by citing the need to curb illegal immigration and the flow of fentanyl into the U.S., though critics, including Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, have called these reasons baseless.
We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer.
Based on the current situation and Trump's own statements, the main reason he's pushing these steep tariffs appears to be a blend of economic nationalism and political leverage, with a particular emphasis on using trade policy as a cudgel to address non-trade issues like immigration and drug trafficking. He's explicitly tied the tariffs on Canada and Mexico to demands for those countries to crack down on illegal border crossings and the flow of fentanyl into the U.S., framing it as a national security issue rather than just an economic one.
But we have very large deficits with both of them, but even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer.
Undocumented immigrants often rely on public services, healthcare, education, welfare, without fully contributing to tax revenues. A 2023 Federation for American Immigration Reform study estimated the net cost to U.S. taxpayers at $150.7 billion annually, after accounting for taxes they do pay. Critics argue this overstates the burden by ignoring economic contributions, but states like Texas and California report spending billions on emergency healthcare and K-12 education for undocumented populations. Texas alone cited $850 million yearly in a 2022 report. The opioid crisis, fueled largely by trafficked fentanyl, costs the U.S. economy dearly. A 2022 CDC report pegged the economic burden of opioid overdoses at $1.5 trillion in 2020 alone, $35 billion in healthcare, $92 billion in lost productivity, and $700 billion in premature mortality costs. Fentanyl, mostly smuggled from Mexico and China, drives this spike, with overdose deaths topping 110,000 in 2023.
But if we truly care about protecting Americans' children, no step is more crucial than securing America's borders. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world. Because of Joe Biden's insane and very dangerous open border policies, they are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast.
Combating drug trafficking eats up public funds, The DEA's 2024 budget was $3.2 billion, while the U.S. spends roughly $47 billion yearly on drug-related policing and incarceration, per a 2021 RAND study. Border security enhancements tied to trafficking, like Trump's wall or tariff threats, add billions more, with Customs and Border Protection's budget hitting $19 billion in 2024. Drug trafficking fuels violent crime and property theft, deterring investment and tourism in affected areas. A 2023 University of Chicago study estimated that cartel-related violence in U.S. border cities, e.g. El Paso, San Diego, shaved 1 to 2% off local GDP annually, about $5 billion total, through business closures and reduced property values. Addiction shrinks the labor pool. The Department of Labor reported in 2024 that 2.1 million working-age Americans were sidelined by opioid dependency, costing $150 billion in lost output. Businesses also face higher insurance premiums and absenteeism tied to drug abuse. Trump's linking of tariffs to these issues hinges on the idea that economic pressure on Mexico and Canada could force stricter border controls, cutting both immigration and drug flows. The economic downsides, higher consumer prices, market instability, are trade-offs he seems willing to accept if it dents the $150 billion plus annual hit from immigration or the $1 trillion drug toll. That's all for the news today. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more information. Have a fantastic day.